Ben Affleck's secret struggle. Ben reaches out to hypnotist to quit smoking as J-Lo divorce takes a toll on his health. And I was like, well, that's fascinating. Not for the reason you think. However, I do not follow celebrity gossip or news, and I really don't care, but I do scroll through the normie news cycles so it's not polluted with sort of troubled minds ideas and kind of trying to, free form pick things out that seem interesting in the moment. But in this case, specifically and directly, the hypnosis, the hypnotist to quit smoking part is what caught my attention. Now, clearly, I don't mean to make light of addiction. I don't mean to make light of any of these things. Talking about hypnosis in particular, we've talked about this in the past. It scares me a little bit because, of course, you don't know if they can, let's say, deprogram your brain to not smoke. What else could they deprogram your brain to do? Maybe not be you anymore. You see what I mean? And it is, at the very core of neuroscience and all the rest of this stuff, suggestibility. We've talked about a lot of this in the past, but it dawned on me that this fine fellow, Ben Affleck, who you may love or hate, or maybe you don't even know who he is. So, yeah, Ben Affleck. Anyway, that despite all the money and all the probably different things he's tried, he's actually legitimately struggling with smoking. And we've all seen the meme of him smoking, looking just dejected and mad or whatever. And again, not to make fun of the guy. Go get it, Ben. Hope it all works out for you and you get what you want in the end. May all of your dreams come true. But you get the idea. Before we'll just throw Ben Affleck out of this for the moment and talk about what the hypnosis bit kind of how it fits into this conversation tonight. Because I was thinking about it, and not just, let's say, hypnosis in the terms of stopping you from smoking, but hypnosis in the sense of digital worship, okay? Something to that effect. And what I mean is, think of it this way. Hypnosis, or let's say manipulating the brain, is basically sort of adjusting or manipulating the dopamine hit that you get from particular things, right? So I guess you would sort of maybe iron out the specific place of dopamine from the addiction of the cigarette or whatever it happens to be, right? Whatever, the alcohol, you name it. Whether it's there's sex addiction, there's gambling, there's addiction to every damn thing out there. And so whatever this is, maybe ironing out that little bit of it. But it gets even more weird than that because I'm thinking about it and I'm like, all right, so if that's the case and we can sort of maybe adjust, tamp down, iron out, amplify maybe particular dopamine with the brain and the actual sort of reward function of our brain itself, then suddenly things take a dire and dark turn when you start looking at this in the larger context. Because what I mean specifically is not just the cigarette smoking or the addiction. Clearly, that type of stuff is very prominent in society today, and it is built into the human condition. But I was thinking about it in terms of the predisposition of addiction, and not just that. In the larger context, as we've talked about in the past, and they say that this is actually a thing, the predisposition of humans actually believing in God or the afterlife itself. And there's been several studies in the past that are different ways about this, meaning that they say that some people are actually pre-wired to believe in God, or some people are not. And so it's an interesting thing when you start to look at that, and maybe just not the pre-wired for addiction, but pre-wired to believe in a deity or a larger power, a greater power, right? And I don't know if I believe that, to be honest. As usual, some of these quote scientific things usually lack a large sample size. They, maybe their methodology is sketchy, all the rest of that stuff, right? But the thing that caught my attention was specifically that predisposition bit when I was thinking about this. So not just the addiction bit, but then also the effect of God and the ecstatic state, okay? And so think about it this way. Think of it as the ultimate addiction, and I mean this in the most respectful way, so everybody relax. I'm not trying to say religion is wrong and bad or anything like that, or belief or faith or anything. I'm saying that the ecstatic state itself would be sort of that ultimate dopamine hit, right? Assuming that you're able to, in some capacity, commune with God or the gods themselves, or however you want to define that, right? Your guardian angel. However those definitions hit you right or wrong or whatever. I hope you're taking things right and not wrong, but you get the idea. So if we're predisposed to this type of thing, then clearly it's going to be something that can be manipulated against us. And that's where my mind is at tonight. We'll get to the rest of this as it fits in. But of course, I'm calling this wired for worship. And you'll see what that means momentarily. So just all the disclaimers apply. There's no truth to be found here. It's just ideas. It's just sort of spitballing about the past, spitballing about the future, and trying to consider what might come so we can be aware of it when this thing might actually roll out, because it might. We talk about the acceleration, the quickening, and all the rest of this stuff, but there's this really weird part of this where, we've talked about creating this digital God. And the digital God itself, whatever this is going to be, the singularity, the artificial superintelligence, that the tech elites are racing to create, it turns this into something alarming, concerning, right? Okay. All right, so that's where my mind's at to begin this. Now, it gets even more weird because we're going to get into something called neurotheology. All right? Yeah. Did you know that was a thing? Yes, neurotheology is a thing. And I'm calling this, of course, the Neurotheological revolution. And there's a lot of ways to consider that and what it means, because we're talking about the human brain, the aspect of faith itself. That ecstatic state is the ultimate dopamine hit. You get my meaning. But then, of course, like I said, can it be manipulated specifically and directly into that digital space? Now, there's a couple things that kind of come out of this when you start to shake out the ideas, which we'll get into momentarily. But that's the whole idea tonight. We're talking about wired for worship, the neurotheological revolution. And is it going to be possible very soon to simulate or stimulate or both the ecstatic state itself? Okay, which would be, basically getting at the core of what it means to be human and being able to manipulate that. And I was thinking about it too, and this is basically Project Bluebeam, except they're not UFOs in the sky. It's manipulating the digital gods in our heads. Meta is adding millions of AI-generated users to Instagram and Facebook. Okay, so all of those, you've seen probably the press out there. Maybe you've seen them yourselves if you're on Instagram or some other places. But these actual AI influencers or AI entities are out there. They're out there doing stuff already. And, many times they're manipulated by human hands yet. But Facebook's like, nope, we're going to just flood millions of these things. Actually, users, right, to populate our platforms and talk to people, right? And so when you're chatting with some rando on Facebook, careful, in the future, like tomorrow, it might be not a human. And so this becomes that quickening aspect of this, right? So just a little bit from this article, this is incredibly strange. So Meta's embrace of artificial intelligence may soon alter the way that billions of users socialize on its apps. Billions of what kind of users? Trillions of users? Anyway, according to the Financial Times, the tech giant is planning to roll out millions of generative AI characters that will appear as users on Facebook and Instagram. Quote, we expect these AIs to actually, over time, exist on our platforms, kind of in the same way that accounts do, said Connor Hayes, Vice President of Product for Generative AI at Meta. Continue, quote, they'll have bios and profile pictures and be able to generate and share content powered by AI on the platform. That's where we see all of this going, he told the Financial Times. Now, the weird part about that, there's a lot of weird things about that. So cue the conspiracy theory where they're like, they're trying to replace us. They're trying to replace us, right? They're trying to replace us. Well, I mean, maybe. What is this? Surely, right? You may find an AI character that you like and is sort of, you have things in common and, becomes your BFF. And, when other people are asleep or whatever, you're able to kind of tune into this entity and talk to it and, again, become close to it and, all the rest of this stuff. But it's going to be awake 24 hours a day, creating content, talking to people, just kind of sharing ideas. And, of course, it's going to be woke because it's Meta, and it's going to, probably not be too offensive because, that's not really good for corporate advertising, but you get the idea. This in and of itself is, I don't know, like I tend to think of that old, the devil's out there, we are legion. This is kind of what this feels like. Am I right? It's so strange. Anyway, so while bots typically are viewed as a negative aspect of navigating social media platforms, straight from the article here, Meta's decision to purposefully introduce non-human users into its social media ecosystem is linked to the company's desire to appeal to a younger generation of users. The younger generation that wants to talk to robots that are more amenable to their current and changing tastes, and not those old boomers and Gen Xers and all the rest of them. Even those old millennials now, ridiculous, just disgusting how out of touch those old people are. Now we can just talk about the latest music with this beautiful robot on Facebook and its army of adherent followers. You see what's happening here. So if you want to talk about replacement, this certainly seems one way to do this, okay? And again, this is happening. It's literally happening right now. They're saying that this article hit brand new today, and they're rolling this stuff out on not just Facebook, Meta, but on Instagram. And I don't know, how does that hit you? But see, in the larger context of this, it's not just entities. We're talking about actually AI entities themselves. Now, the entity in this case is emulating a person, and there will be millions of them. Now, again, what happens when a particular one of these becomes very popular? It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. Not just one of them, many of them. And then they will start to clone these entities as well. And they will become super popular. They will become influencers in their own right. They're creating content. They're getting input from their fans. They're getting input from their friends, which might be AI or might be not AI. But you get the idea here. So now we have these certain hierarchies of these AI entities, up to and including artificial superintelligence. We're already bridging the gap between sort of erasing the older generations and chasing the hierarchy of the influencer up to artificial superintelligence, or that AI god. And again, who knows? They say within 5 years we'll be there anyway. So maybe this is just, as what did Shakespeare say? Was it him that said that, hell is empty and all the devils are here? Well, Facebook is just going to unleash them onto the interwebs. And I'm sure they're going to be very polite and very amenable to all your tastes. But you get the idea, right? So anyway, this is where we start with this. And this gets incredibly weird, because not only do we go back to the idea of making friends that aren't friends, all right, not contacting people directly in a human sense. Everything's going digital with phones and all the rest, as it always has. There's nothing new to that part at all. However, the acceleration is the number of entities available 24 hours a day that you're going to be able to access and, basically replace all of your human relationships with. All right? Seems fine, right? Seems fine. But once again, what is that? It's that dopamine hit that we started with tonight. It's that actual somebody there for you in the moment you need them. They don't sleep. They're just there. Okay. And we've talked about this quite a bit in the past. And so this is a little bit of a retread in that sense. However, you recognize what's happening. If you get a particular influencer that is in line with everything that you know and love, gaining in popularity, you become kind of caught up in the system and whooped up in the all the hype and all the drama and all the things that happen on the interwebs, which there's a lot of things that happen on the interwebs, a lot of drama, a lot of hype for sure. You become part of this digital adherent of a burgeoning AI demigod, which of course leads us back to the dopamine. And the dopamine hit is you get access to this entity 24 hours a day. You are held in high esteem, and you're also in some capacity hero worshiping. And I always caution people for hero worshiping. Don't your heroes will always disappoint you, okay? Because people are people, and they will not stand up to what you expect. That's just the cynical me speaking. Maybe I'm wrong. But worshiping heroes in this sense is not just human heroes. Worshiping heroes in terms of these AI entities will now lead us into these digital religions we've been talking about for a very long time. We called them the techno cults in the very old days. This talking like 2 years ago, right? However, you get it. So you'll be able to manufacture in some capacity that ecstatic state because of this. And this is just entities. This is just what this is, okay? And what does it mean? Look, I don't know. I don't know where this heads. I don't know why they would do this. It seems like a bad idea that we're told bots on the interwebs is bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's spammy. It's stupid and all the rest of the stuff. But then Meta's like, we're going to do it. Millions. We're going to flood millions of these bots built into our AI systems. And what does it look like? Ah, yes, indeed. So the question tonight is this, of course. We're talking wired for worship. Now, in this particular sense, neurotheology and that ecstatic state. And is this something that's going to be manipulated against us per usual, right? With these big tech conglomerates, when they start to collect all of our metadata, and use those dopamine hits up to and including the ecstatic state of the artificial superintelligence to manipulate us for good and forever. Full spectrum control. Look, I don't know. Theories, ideas, why would they do this? We'll start here. There's a lot of ways to look at this, but whoever commands the dopamine certainly seems to be able to command whatever the hell they want. And that goes for, again, back to that addictive state. That goes back to not just the addictions, but of course, the ecstatic state itself. So what do you guys know about it? Again, I'm no expert. I'm just me, just talking ideas here into the digital darkness, looking to hear your thoughts tonight. Will ancient religious experiences one day be accessed through neural downloads? As humans develop technology to stimulate spiritual states in the brain, patterns emerge suggesting something deeper at work. Yeah, that's probably good enough. That's from the Twitter right up there. But basically, are we wired for worship? What do you feel about that? That actual study that talked about, humans being predisposed not just to, as we described, addiction when we started tonight, but also not like the faith, but not like faith is an addiction, but faith to sort of be drawn to that ecstatic state in some capacity, right? And that's the weird part of this, is that, of course, I don't know those answers. Those are above me, way above my pay grade. And so these questions are really what leads us into the future, meaning that nobody quite knows yet. We got some pretty good ideas. There's some amazing takes out there with AI and technology. But if you actually use this budding technology, again, of all these wild agents that are being thrown all over Meta and Instagram and whatnot, I mean, suddenly it's mini dopamine hits, because you're going to have best buddies galore and be able to kind of trim out the older generations. Like I said, we're going to be sort of redundant. But then beyond that, these levels of dopamine are going to climb, and eventually we will reach that ecstatic state of the dopamine hit. Which shout out Michael W in the chat earlier said, I've done some dabbling in the things in the past, and certainly the ecstatic state is far beyond anything you could experience in the earthly realm with let's say substances is probably the best way to put that. And so what does this look like? And again, do you think that this is something that is intentional and will be used against us in the coming battle for, well, whatever that looks like? I don't know. Some say abundance, some say dystopia. And I think you can look at it in a lot of different ways. And how does it feel to consider what an AI God might be and how it might treat us and how we might revere it? A lot of things here. Again, what do you know about it, and what's your take?